Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by DirtTrackDigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, welcome to another episode of the 31st Lap. And already struggling, there we go. Surprised a little bit to be with everybody. For those of you that are at home or tuning in to find out more about the drag racing circuit, horseman drag racing with Final Round Podcast, there was a bit of a scheduling confusion between myself and our co-host over there on the Final Round Podcast, Jason Oldfield. He's on his way to Pittsburgh. He's going to go race this weekend down in Pittsburgh, and I had initially planned for us to have a show tonight, so he's busy packing and getting things together, and he'll be back with me next Thursday. So we'll be back with Final Round next week. Figured we would jump in. We'll try and hit all the stuff that's of importance from all the folks that are making that show happen over there at Empire Dragway. But first, of course, we want to jump into our coverage here. A little bit of local racing action that we had happen last week. There was a lot of good action going on there. Of course, Yahoo now has decided to kick me out of it. The Super Dirt Car Series right now is getting ready to go at Airborne Speedway for the first time on the dirt oval up there. So that's pretty cool to see that happening over there for those guys. We'll jump into that a little bit. Of course, we know Stu Friesen coming away with the win over at Utica Rome Speedway over the weekend. The big news was the Central New York Super Sprint and their Central New York Speedweek event that was happening. Danny Varon ended up winning the Mini-Series Championship. That's an extra $1,000. It was a $3,000 point fund that was put together for the Empire Super Sprints and that program, which not too bad of a deal. Really for 5 nights worth of work, picked up an extra $1,000 on top of all the winnings that he pulled home from each of the races. Each of the races is part of that. We're guaranteed at least $3,000 to win, if not more, and everybody was taking home more than that. $2,000 for second, $1,000 for third, $300 to start. Everybody took home $100 each night, and then there was another $1,000 handed out in bonuses. All the non-qualifiers, I should say, took home $100. Chuck Hebing, he got the most wins. He picked up 2 of them in the last 3. Had a good run for himself in the final 3 events once he got past the hurdles. The first event at Can-Am, the tour opened up there in Lafargeville. Lucas Wolf won that one. It was a dominating race. It was his 4th career ESS win. Danny Varon was on top of him early, and then Mike Mahaney ended up having a battle with Paul Kinney for 3rd, and then Mark Smith jumped into the mix there, but nobody really had anything for Lucas Wolf. Lucas Wolf drove away with that one, $3,050 going with him. Smith, Varon, Mahaney, and Matt Tanner rounding out the top 5 at Canandaigua. Real quick note, Chuck Hebing, DNQ over there at Can-Am. Keep track of that as we go through it. Canandaigua, that was the polar opposite of Lucas Wolf's convincing, dominating win up there at Can-Am as Larry White picked up a win in that one. It was a battle with Coleman Gulick. It was a tight battle. Coleman Gulick ended up blowing a tire. White ended up holding the lead on a restart. Mike Mahaney drove to the inside with clear track, and Mahaney ended up slipping ahead on the backstretch, and then White went back out in front, then Mahaney went to the lead, and they traded back and forth with 2 to go. White was back on the point off the 4th turn. He cleared Mahaney going in the 1st turn, tried to shut down the inside line, and it blocked the line for Mahaney, and that is what ended up stealing the win for White in that one. That's a 2nd career win. You had to go back all the way to a start in Brewerton in August 2014 for his previous triumph with the ESS. Matt Tanner, Danny Varon were right there as well. Varon earned hard charger honors, and he went from 14th to 5th. And John Preston was next, and then Lucas Wolf, who won that first race, took 7th place home. Sean Donath, unfortunately, in a DNQ after both of his cars lost motors. It was a tough break, and Chuck Hebing having some motor problems as well, early exit in that one. They had some accompanying action over there in this event as well for the modifieds, and then the sportsman cars were in support action as well. Matt Shepard, hard to believe, Matt Shepard came away with the win, and that one he was pretty convincing in his efforts there. What I might do is, this is not exactly working right now, so we're going to try and change this up a little bit so that we can be a little bit smoother with our conversation here tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in and watching with us again. We'll hit on a little bit of the action that was happening over at Empire and what their schedule is bringing here in the coming days as they get ready for this big weekend ahead. We'll have some results from over there too if we can track those down on the Empire website. We had initially planned again on having the boy, I tell you what, I hate this computer. We initially had planned on the final round being on tonight, but again, there was some scheduling confusion, and our co-host on the final round, he is on his way to Pittsburgh in the morning. Matt Shepard won the supporting modified feature over there at Canandaigua, was part of that Central New York Speedweeks event. Eric Rudolph was second under Justin Harris. Alan Johnson-Giltag, Tim McCready was sixth. The Grit Sportsman Battle of Ontario feature was won by Rocky Warner. Kyle Inman followed him. Matt Gray, Kevin Root, Dave Marcichelli filling the top five. Kevin Ridley and Nick Carreri were also right there, finishing 6th and 7th in a very, very competitive main event. Brewerton was event number 3 of the 5, rebounding from that DNF at Canandaigua and the DNQ at Can-Am. Chuck Hebing put his car in victory lane. Coleman Gulick was a challenger, but he was not nearly enough of a challenger to overtake Chuck Hebing. He took second place out of Paulie Colavangi. John Preston, Larry White filled the top 5. Mechanical problems at Canandaigua. Donath rebounded. He was able to take 12th in the main at Brewerton. Support action included the modified sportsman and mod lights because this happened on a regular Friday night, if you can believe that. Tons of racing happened. Larry White picked up another modified feature win over there at Brewerton. Matt Hulsizer and Jimmy Phelps were right there on his heels. Billy Decker was 4th and Chad Phelps 5th. Alan Fink captured the win in the sportsman division. Rocco Leone was second place. Glenn Forward, then Stephen Denton and Chris Cunningham in the top 5. Jeff Sykes edged out Casey Sykes and Joe Isabel to win the 20-lap mod light feature. In the Fulton leg, race number 4, early in the race, Paul Kinney was leading and Mike Mahaney looked good. John Preston was surging. Jason Barney was dueling with Danny Varon. Mike Mahaney eventually got to the lead on lap number 8. Quick yellow flag bunched everybody again. On the restart, Jason Barney only needed 1 lap to dart past everybody in front of him. And from there, he raced on to the checkers. Barney win makes him the first 3-time winner on the ESS Tour this year. Chuck Hebing came out of nowhere, essentially, to come back and get second place as he stormed through the top 5. Up to second, Billy Van Inwagen, Mike Mahaney filling out the top 5. Good run for those guys. Weekly divisions again, because this happened on Saturday. This was, again, a jam-packed card because all the weekly divisions were racing as well. Tom Sears Jr., he was on rails in the modified feature. He took the lead from Matt Hall Slicer in lap 8, checked out. He was gone. Nobody could do much with him. Max McLaughlin won the race for second, basically the runner-up sweepstakes. He took that one ahead of Pat Ward. Matt Hall Slicer, he had another good night. He was good at Brewerton, backed it up with this one with a 4th-place finish, and Chris Heil was 5th. Alan Fink won the first of 2 sportsman mains. Rocky Warner almost won his second of the weekend after he won at Canandaigua. Nick Kraus, Zach Sobotka, and Corey Baker were in the top 5 behind Rocky Warner. Billy Clark Jr. won the second feature. Willie Decker Jr. was knocking on the door there. Tyler Trump, Glenn Forward, Chris Cunningham all in the top 5 there. Chad Holman was a deep late model feature, 20 laps the distance for them. Jason Ochino was in second, then Kevin Cook, Jason Parkhurst, and Sean Beardsley. Jimmy Moyer won the novice sportsman feature. And it rounded out at Utica Rome with a sweet doubleheader. If you're into modifieds and sprint cars, that was a place to be on Sunday, regular scheduled Sunday, 100-lap Super Dirt Car Series feature, and the New Yorker 100, and the CNY Speedweek capping event. Not a bad program whatsoever. Hebing, he set sail at one of his most successful tracks and checked out. He was doing just fine there. Won his second ESS feature in 3 nights with that one. And again, if you look at the DNQ and the engine problem that he had with the DNF in the first 2 races, imagine what that could have been for the Cobra. It was a great run. Danny Varon was second, and that locked down the title run for him. Matt Tanner, Paul Kinney, Bobby Varon filling in the top 5. Matt Shepard was leading, and while he was working lap traffic, made some contact with a slower car And that allowed Billy Decker to get out in front in the 100 lapper. Shepard slowed with a flat tire on lap 39 on the restart. Pat Ward got to the front, and at the halfway point, he led Decker, Friesen, Tim Fuller, and Danny Varon. On lap 52, Stu Friesen suddenly got exceptionally fast. He kicked it into overdrive and drove past Decker, and then reeled in Ward and took the lead 3 laps later on lap 55, and it was through an extended green run, which was stopped by an ugly accident. Beth Bellinger and Claude Hutchings both tangled. They went head-on into the backstretch wall. Claude Hutchings ended up flipping. He was all right, but they had to red flag the event. And then the red flag came out again a little bit later on when Shepard and Larry White came together, and that was the one that resulted in all sorts of conversation this week. We're not going to dive into it because it's already been documented. We don't need to rehash all this stuff. There's the altercation on track while those two were running 7th and 8th. You talk to different drivers, if they put themselves in those situations, it was a matter of a multitude of situations between track lighting, between track angles. You look at some historic races that have happened there. And this isn't the first time that's happened. Maybe if there wasn't such a spirit there, maybe we wouldn't have ultimately ended up with that anyway. But nonetheless, we had that altercation there, and that took out Shepard and Larry White while they were running for 7th and 8th. White ended up tumbling through turns 3. It was rough. On the restart, though, Friesen was on rails. He took care of that, picked up his 54th career Utica Rome victory, second New Yorker 100. Ward, Fuller, Varon, Decker rounded out the top 5. Brett Hearn, Gary Tompkins, Eric Rudolph, Alan Johnson, Peter Britton filling into top 10. Mark Nefter won the Sportsman Main over A.J. Miller, Kyle Kine, and Matt Janchuk, and Daryl Nutting also in the top 5. Getting into area tracks. There was some awesome action over at Outlaw. The track was smoother. It was definitely improved over there. Alan Johnson was leading early, and immediately there was almost a yellow almost right off the bat with Steve Perry. He had broken down, so they flagged it for him. Matt Shepard spun on the infield, so he had to go to the back, and when racing finally settled in, Johnson was leading. By lap 13, Shepard was already back up to 4th place, working 3rd. The 30-lap main heated up big time when Johnson caught lap traffic. Steve Payne used the slower cars, got the lead change, and then Shepard followed. And after that, it was a torrid battle at the point. Steve Payne ran away to pick up his first feature of the year over that Outlaw. If you can believe that, it's the first weekend of July, and Steve Payne's winning his first race at Outlaw. Slim half-car length at the line. Johnson was 3rd. Marcus Dinkins and Justin Wright took 5th. Chris Fisher won the Crate Sportsman feature. Chris Fleming won the Crate Late Model main over Brad Smith. Sean Bruce, let's see, I missed it. Ron Michael jumped to the lead early and commanded a win in the IMCA Modified feature. Bob Buono won the Street Stocks over Glenn Wertenauer and Quinn Sutherland. Let's see, Ray Heyer won again in the 4-cylinder division over there at Outlaw Speedway. And Cole Yaus won the youth feature. Spencer Speedway is having a tough go. Spencer Speedway can't get a race in to help them. They've lost their 4th race of the year, and it was their 2nd straight, at least. New York Superstocks visiting the track this Friday. Racing starts at 7:15. Saturday at Oswego, Dave Schulich scored his 3rd win of the year. He won this Grand Prix 75. He raced from 11th to get the win in the 75 lap feature, parking in the Nicotcher Racing number 2 in Victory Lane. And it celebrated the 35th anniversary of his dad winning the same event in the number two, and winning that back in 1982. Dave Schulich Sr. winning that Grand Prix weekend. Greg O'Connor earned his first win, holding back Cameron Proud in the small block Grand Prix. Mike Bond, Craig Harris, Dave Cliff were all in the top 5. Canandaigua rained out, and their Demolition Derby event's been moved to this coming Saturday. Dave Marchicelli won the Sportsman Classic. It was the first driver to win it twice now. He started 3rd and took the lead from Glenn Ford on lap 14 in the 75-lapper, and then held off Rocky Warner. A couple of names that you figure are going to be at the front of any of those Sportsman fields: Dave Marchicelli and Rocky Warner. Corey Baker was 3rd. It was a Scooper Dirt Car Series Sportsman event, in addition to being part of the Bay Custom Header Sportsman Shootout Series. Kevin Ridley was 4th. Glenn Forward settled for 5th. 65 cars signed in for action, which was not a number to balk at all. Tyler Walker won the NY6A Micro Sprint feature, had a Scott Crutter and Jim Young, and Joe Isabel won the TUSA Mod Light feature. We have some RC coverage, too, just to recap a couple of former guests that have been on the show before. Stephen Ovens came away with his first career win in the Small Addictions Northeast Mud Boss Series. It was a good win for him down in Stoneboro, Pennsylvania. Congratulations. We know Stephen from his work at Woodhull Raceway, his work with Race Chaser Online, Turn 5 podcast. So it was cool to see that. And then a good friend of his, going way back into the go-kart days, Dave Callahan set fast time and won the second race at Stoneboro down there at Big Dog RC down in the Keystone State. Those guys are going to be part of a solid contingent that are making the trip up to a track called Bub's Backyard Speedway, and it is literally a backyard. So make sure you bring your tables and your extension cords if you're going to go up there and check that out as a racer, as a spectator, to go see some of the craziest RC racing you've ever seen. Make the trip up there, and while you're up there, you can stop by and see what's going on at the Ransomville Speedway. At least you get to see what the track looks like anyway. It's right in the shadow of the track up there in the Niagara Frontier. Local drivers here, we're on Finger Lakes 1. We're in Seneca Falls. We should make mention of Jamie Davis. He had a career best fourth in that second feature. Tom Bell, he was sixth, and that was his career best race, so good deal for him. And Anthony Guerreri, another local guy, he's leading the overall tour points, so that's kind of cool. They're going to be racing back locally here July 19th in Auburn at Small Addictions Raceway and July 23rd at Radio Hill down in Dundee. So some other local action that's happening and taking place is Rick Lawback and Ryan Watt both picked up wins at Bridgeport in one of the Poker Series races. Let's see if we can find where we should be focused on. That's where we're going to move next, is into the Empire Dragway stuff. I had inadvertently closed that window, so that's going to be a moment before we get back there. But yeah, I was bummed out. I wanted to try and spend a little bit of time talking with those guys, but we ended up shuffling our own coverage program here at Finger Lakes 1, so we didn't get to quite all that we wanted to. So ultimately, Matt Shepard won't be in action at Airborne. He's been set down for a week for following the actions of the drivers at Utica Rome Speedway. So Utica Rome was scheduled to be off on Sunday, so it's not going to really affect him other than just this one race, because his Friday and Saturday home is at Outlaw and Canandaigua. They're not dirt sanctioned tracks anyway, so he should be okay on those fronts. Let's see, Eric Rudolph. Eric Rudolph won the Mod Tour down at Little Valley. It's been a long time since the Mod Tour has been down at that track. I think it was Ron Smoker, if I remember reading correctly, who came away with a win in that one last time that tour was down there. Anthony Prego, he led one lap, and it was the key one over at the Battle of the Bull Ring 5 at Accord Speedway. And Kyle Larson, they keep saying that the guy isn't human. He just might not be. He held off the Pennsylvania Posse to pick up a win over the weekend as well. Kyle Larson, just so good every time he gets into a race car. This was part of the Thunder on the Hill series, and it was his third straight Pennsylvania 410 Sprint Car Speedweek victory. Dwayne Howard won the 30-lap NASCAR Modified feature at Grandview. This was all happening Tuesday nights, presented by Pioneer Pole Buildings, and it was crazy. The feature there was remarkable. Good win for him. And he said he felt like he was playing defense all night. He had a tail tank full of some of the regular competitors out there, but did everything he had to do and ended up coming away with the win in that one. Let's see. We're gonna shift our attention now to Empire Dragway as we take a peek at. There it is. All right, so Empire Dragway is the drag strip out there in Leicester, New York. This is part of a 3-day weekend that they've got scheduled there. The Purge No Prep Shootout, presented by the No Prep Racing Association and the Northern Racing Unlimited. Special guest appearance from the Street Outlaws, Plan B, the Birdman, the 55 and more. The Purge Run What You Brung, the Bike and the Sled class, the 580 Index class, testing, grudge racing. You can talk to Mike O.C., 956-624-6508, 956-624-6508. If you want more information on that, that's the Friday show. All of the racing on Friday nights. Oh, geez, of course I missed that. That was the racing card on Friday. That's an evening program, obviously. Saturday's program, the gates open for juniors at 11 o'clock, and then the racer gates open at noon. Time trials start at 2, and racing starts about 5 o'clock on Saturday. Saturday is the second half of that Purge No Prep Shootout, presented by National No Prep Racing Association, Northern Racing Unlimited. Special guest appearances from the Outlaws include Plan B, Birdman, and 55 Racing again. Saturday's classes are a little bit more what you might be accustomed to seeing: big tire, small tire, true street, factory street, and then they've got the testing and grudge racing. They've got a bunch of index classes that are going to be there. I know at one point, Jason Oldfield from Final Round was talking about skipping his trip down to Pittsburgh and instead racing this event. Couldn't have blamed him. I couldn't have blamed him if he did it. Again, Mike O'C's in charge of all this, 956-624-6508. And then Sunday is the rain date. They're only going to run that day if the program runs over on Saturday, if there's rain Friday and Saturday. And Mike O'C is in charge of that. We had Mike O'C on the show with his lovely wife to talk a little bit about that no prep deal. And they try to get the track as clean as possible, get it stripped down as much as possible. And you don't get to do anything to the tires. You basically go out there and you run the car on the tires that you bolt on. You don't do anything to them, and it really, really has made for some interesting action, and it's a little bit more pure than some of the technology and stuff that you've seen added to the. Just tell me. Just say it. You want me to tell the story about? I'm going to put the camera on you, and you can tell the story. No? My producer, Alan, is over here. He's telling me about one of the times that he was running an RC derby down in Virginia, and he got pinned in, and there was an adult who was not happy about the situation with the call. But if you break your stick, you break your stick. That's a good conversation to have on the crash course on Monday nights when they talk about demolition derby action. Turning our attention back to Empire Dragway, we had Mike O'C and his wife on the show, and we were talking about how it was really no prep. They spend a lot of time making sure that it's a pure form of racing, and they do a lot of heads up. They do a lot of index, and it's two different types of racing, but it is very, very cool. Empire's got a great schedule mapped out for themselves. After they finish up with this week and they transition into next Saturday with a full program, the 470 Thunder Series is going to be there, the TNT 1090 Super Series is going to be there, and then the week after that is the 7th Annual Gold Cup. The 7th Annual Gold Cup starts on Friday the 21st. They run again Saturday on the 22nd. The 470 Thunder Series, they got a live band, music, all that's happening on the 22nd. And then the 23rd, the Gold Cup are going to have the AA gassers, the Nostalgia Pro Stock cars. It's going to be awesome. You got to get over there and check that track out. It is a fantastic facility. Our goal is at some point we're going to try and do some live stuff from over there. But at this point we haven't been able to get all these stars to align so that we can do that. And I clicked on the wrong link. There it is. That's what we were looking for right here. We haven't got everything updated quite yet in terms of their win list, but we can try and get you some of the names. $1,000 shootout, box class winner Pete Dagnolo came with the win in his Malibu Empire Dragway. $1,000 shootout, Pete Courpier won that in his pickup truck, and then the $1,000 shootout no box winner Clay Ricketson came with the win in that one. So yeah, it was pretty good weekend of racing all across the board. We've got more stuff coming up this weekend. Everybody looks like they're looking for some decent weather, looking ahead for it, so should be pretty good. And again, like we said, Airborne getting ready to go. I haven't seen any updates on the Twitter at the moment, but I'm probably not looking in the right place either. So I think that's going to do it for us. We've got a solid 25 minutes in for finding out rather late that we weren't even planning on having a show that was going to hit on these topics. So, unfortunately, a little bit of a convoluted program this evening, and we're flying solo with no guests. But I know you guys are all excited about seeing the racing at Airborne, anyhow, which is everybody's going to be watching on online with that if they can't make it up there. Beautiful night for it, front to back. Good racing up there at Airborne for the Super Dirt Car Series, and then there's some news that broke that the summer. What do they call it? Summer Sizzler, I think, is what they called it at Ransomville Speedway, at Rolling Wheels Raceway Park is going to be happening as well. They've got some dates and information on that, which we'll probably hit on here coming up next week or in 2 weeks when we get 31st lap back on its regular schedule and final round back on its regular schedule and get everybody settled out to where they need to be. But I think that's going to do it for this one. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll see everybody again in 2 weeks when we're back here with another episode of the 31st lap. Again, final round is going to be on next week when we are when 31st lap takes a break, and that's going to do it for this one from the North Park building here at Academy Square. That's going to do it for us. Appreciate everybody watching.